Chapter 21, Protecting Your Church Before Yourself. God himself is the highest example of sacrificial love, humble other-centeredness, and perfect harmony. What? Rick, you're talking about a guy who commits genocide anytime he doesn't get his way. That's not humble other-centeredness, asking all of us, creating all of us for the unique purpose of kissing his ass, is not humility. If you are a part of God's family, it is your responsibility to protect the unity where you fellowship. I'd just like to point out, he's not talking anything about protecting the safety of your fellow believers. He's not talking about the health of the church. Just unity. Cults have a lot of unity, Rick. That doesn't mean that they are healthy, safe, or good. Just like Saddleback. Focus on what we have in common, not our differences. Yeah, focus on the fact that we all ass-kiss the same fictional God, and don't worry about who's a good person or not, right? I mean, morals just aren't part of Rick Warren's theology. Rick says conflict is usually a sign that the focus has shifted to less important issues. Things the Bible calls disputable matters. Yeah, I mean, usually when people take the focus off church and start focusing on problems in the church like child rape, that's just less important than kissing God's ass. I didn't remember the phrase disputable matters from the versions of the Bible that I read, so I went ahead and looked in the back, where you have to look to find out where Rick is getting his Bible quotes from. Romans 14:1. Accept him whose faith is weak without passing judgment on disputable matters. That has to do with how strong someone's faith is and things like whether or not he eats meat. The other passage is 2 Timothy 2:23. Don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments because you know they produce quarrels. Pretty much thought an argument was a quarrel, but that's beside the point. The point is, Rick Warren is using the Bible verses incorrectly and out of context, something atheists get accused of all the time. Oh, well, you just have to take it in context. Well, I am. Rick isn't. Be realistic in your expectations. Lower your standards. Come on. Quoting Paul, he says, I plead with you to be of one mind, united in thought and purpose. Cults are united in one mind, united in thoughts and purpose. What do you know? We must love the church passionately, in spite of its imperfections. Longing for the ideal while criticizing the real is evidence of immaturity. No, it isn't. It's evidence of caring or of a desire for progress. You sanctimonious prick. Other believers will disappoint you and let you down, but that's no excuse to stop fellowshipping with them. Yes, people who hurt you, disappoint you, and let you down, those are absolutely the people you should center your life around. They, church members, are your family even when they don't act like it. And you can't just walk out on them. Say it all together, YouTube. Yes, we can! Reconciliation, not running away, is the road to stronger character and deeper fellowship. Now I know Rick hasn't mentioned abusive people. He's acted as if they didn't exist, especially within the church family, right? In cases of abuse, which I'm going to address because this is a big oversight on Rick's part, reconciliation, not running away, is the road to the emergency room. Divorcing your church at the first sign of disappointment or disillusionment is a mark of immaturity. No, it's not. Rick, maybe it's a sign of discernment. Maybe it's self-preservation. There is no perfect church to escape to. Every church has its own set of weaknesses and problems. You'll soon be disappointed again. Yeah, don't try to improve your life. Don't try to find a better church family. I mean, you're just going to be disappointed again. And since Rick didn't tell you anything on how to decide which set of weaknesses and problems you'd be willing to deal with, no, it's just join, belong, obey, and do everything possible to preserve the unity of that church, whether it's a good church or not. As an atheist and as an ex-cult member, let me say, I think there is tremendous variety in Christian churches. Everything from a highly demanding cult, like I grew up in, to a cultural Christian center like the Episcopalian church I attended. There's a lot of variety, and I don't consider every church a cult, even if I do consider all of them wrong. When you criticize what another believer is doing in faith and from sincere conviction, you are interfering with God's business. Oh, this would be the justification that kept mainstream and moderate Christians from ever helping when I was a child stuck in a faith healing cult, right, Rick? Whenever I judge another believer, 4 things instantly happen. I lose fellowship with God, I expose my own pride and insecurity, I set myself up to be judged by God. Oh yeah, because he was going to wait until I did that, huh? And I harm the fellowship of the church. So whenever, Rick? So whenever a Christian objects to a pedophile priest, they instantly lose fellowship with God, It's the devil's job to blame, complain, and criticize members of God's family. Anytime we do the same, we're being duped into doing Satan's work for him. Ah, yes, because complaining about your church in a hope of improving things or protecting people or any good motive is doing Satan's work for him. Actually, having read the Bible, the idea that Satan might be the good guy God has occurred to me. Rick Warren continually states in all these chapters on your church family and how important mandatory church attendance really, really is. He repeatedly encourages inaction in the face of abuse and atrocity. Because after all, unity matters a lot more than progress or health. Right, Ricky? Refuse to listen to gossip. It's not only bad to tell gossip, it's also bad to listen. Was that the logic that your pastor used, Rick, when he called Sherry Ferber's husband to tell her that she was gossiping about him beating the ever-living shit out of her? I mentioned her in a previous video, and my editing was a bit choppy, so yeah, she's alive. She's still brainwashed. She still thinks Rick Warren's a good pastor and listens to their sermons, but she's not allowed to attend because she gossiped too much when she left her abusive husband, a church choir member at Saddleback. Oh yes, abusing women can get you a position of authority at Saddleback. Trying to escape abuse can get you kicked out for gossip. Practice God's method for conflict resolution. What, flood the earth? During conflict, it's tempting to complain to a third party rather than courageously speak the truth in love to the person you're upset with. This makes matters worse. Instead, you should go directly to the person involved. With advice giving like this, no wonder you have such a ridiculously high percentage of abused women in your congregation. Support your pastor and leaders. Pastors often have the unpleasant task of serving as mediator between hurt, conflicting, or immature members. Why would you want to be a member of this douche's church? Can you tell how little he thinks of you, sheep? Be responsive to your pastoral leaders. Listen to their counsel. They're alert to the condition of your lives and work under the strict supervision of God. Was God strictly supervising the Catholic clergy as they raped children and nuns? Yeah. Bad shepherds exist, but just like unhealthy churches, unhealthy relationships, and abusive people, Rick Warren would prefer to pretend that they don't. Why? Because he's one of them. Pastors will one day stand before God and give an account of how well they watched over you. But you're accountable too. You will give an account to God of how well you followed your leaders. Blech. Oh look, we protect the fellowship. Remember when that just meant shared experience? We protect the fellowship when we honor those who serve us by leading. Yes, leading is not service. Leading is the cool position to be in. As somebody who was once in line to be the next cult leader, let me tell you, it is by far the best position to have. Cult leader, clergy member, sure as hell beats flock. In reality, Rick knows this. He knows that he's not serving people. He knows that he's getting to be rich and famous and unduly powerful because he has flock o' sheep. He has a ton of followers. That's the only fucking reason people listen to this jackass moron, is because he has a big church. He found He made a big cult instead of a little one. He's like L. Ron Hubbard instead of Jim Jones. You want to know why I think Rick is a cult leader? Yeah. At Saddleback Church, every member signs a covenant that includes a promise to protect the unity of our fellowship. As a result, the church has never had a conflict that split that fellowship. Well, yeah, because you kick out people who complain when they're getting abused. Day 21, point to ponder. It is my responsibility to protect the unity of my church. Go fuck yourself on a chainsaw, Ricky. Verse to remember. Let us concentrate on the things which make for harmony and the growth of our fellowship together, rather than address any issues of rape and abuse. Question to consider. What am I personally doing to protect unity in my church family right now? Ha, ha, ha. I could find almost nothing less important than protecting the unity of churches, okay? If you're gonna go out and hurt people, I'm gonna try to destroy you. That's how fucking simple it is. You know the difference between me and Rick Warren besides money and a penis and respect? Yeah, I have morals. Everybody on YouTube have a great and godless day. Video for day 22 coming tomorrow.